The Gilded Age created many problems for workers in the in that Gilded Age era, and then came the Progressive era where they got tired of being treated poorly and living poorly, and eventually created labor unions, which were unions that protested for their rights and they wanted more than what they had, and sometimes they became successful. So labor unions became more popular because everyone wanted to have a better life and better work atmosphere. That's how labor unions started. The people involved in labor unions are basically anyone that felt that their jobs and their living situations were unfair, or even like people joined because they felt something else was unfair, not even their work. And the events that took place were just like events building up over time to create labor unions, which were like deaths and unfair pay and dirty food and dirty water and bad living situations. All these things built up to labor unions. Strategies that were employed to address the problem. The labor unions were the strategy to get rid of how they were treated for their jobs and how they lived. The labor unions weren't a problem. They were actually good. They helped American citizens and immigrants in many ways. And that's how labor unions developed over time. The problem with labor in the Progressive era and Gilded Age was that they were treated poorly. They lived in very poor housing and had barely any food or water, and if they did have it, it was dirty, and their work life was terrible. They got injured or even died, and the whole family had to work because they any of them barely got any money, even after like 8 to 12 hours of work a day, which was very unfair. And eventually, people just got tired of it and created labor unions, which were basically protesting against how they were treated. In the Progressive era, labor unions were very successful. Labor unions actually started before the Progressive era, but they weren't very successful because no one really listened. But enough people had enough with what was going on, and a lot of people eventually spoke up and joined labor unions that created attention, and it actually created some good things that uh, were positive for the lower class workers, and the what happened in the Progressive era affects today, because if no one ever spoke up, then nothing would have really happened. But since people spoke up and fought for their rights, then things changed, just like things change now that set the tone for U.S. history. And without without the progressive era and labor unions, what would America be today? What do you think would be different? I think a lot of things would be different, because without people fighting for what they believe in, then maybe America wouldn't be the same, wouldn't be as free. That's what the progressive era is all about, to change what the Gilded Age caused. Thank you for your listening. Stay tuned.